Hi, my name is Dr. Dominique Royam, and today we're going to talk about musical semiotics, or how music tells stories without words. Semiotics is a relatively unusual word, but you use semiotics every day to interpret the world around you. We'll be focusing on music and using examples from sound effects, TV, and movies. Time for the big question. What is semiotics? Semiotics is the study of how information travels through non-linguistic systems, using signs to stand in for concepts. We know, for instance, that the following sign in the West means everything is okay, but this can be dated back to its alleged use by Roman emperors to signal whether a gladiator would live, hence be okay, or its reverse, thumbs down, signifying death. But in scuba diving, this sign means to go up to the surface, and by the side of the road, it means you want to hitch a ride. The surrounding culture of the sign is an important aspect to semiotics, and no semiotic system can be taken from the culture it was developed in. The term semiotics was first used before 1676 in English as the name to a branch of medical science dedicated to the study of signs. It developed in the next few hundred years to the study of the transfer of information through a number of different modalities, including text, pictures, and sound. Two of the first modern thinkers on the subject were an American, Charles Sanders Peirce, and a Swiss linguist, Ferdinand de Saussure. Peirce defined a sign as something which stands to somebody for something, and one of his major contributions to semiotics was the categorization of signs into three main types. One, an icon, which resembles its referent, such as a road sign for falling rocks. Two, an index, which is associated with its referent, as smoke is a sign of fire. And three, a symbol, which is related to the referent only by convention, as with words or traffic signals. Saussure made a distinction between the two inseparable components of a sign, the signifier, which in language is a set of speech sounds or marks on a page, and the signified, which is the concept or idea behind the sign. These concepts of sign and signifier define the modern study of semiotics today. Music has signs and signifiers as well. The music itself, whether the sound of it or the representation of it on paper, are signifiers, and the ideas behind those sounds are the sign. Through the work of Leonard Meyer, Robert Hatton, and Raymond Monell, and Kofi Agawu, we have come to understand and interpret the information that is created and passed on to us through music. One of the reasons semiotics works so well is that you and I have been trained to understand what certain music or images mean by the culture that surrounds us. Take the sad trombone sound effect or music cue. We associate the sound with the idea of failure, especially in a humorous situation. We were trained in this association by the sounds used in cartoons and other media. These situations were absurd failures of a character, like Wile E. Coyote being defeated in his outlandish attempts to catch the Roadrunner. In this example of the Roadrunner cartoon, you can hear the sad trombone figure in the trumpets. Another sound effect that has intense semiotic meaning is fanfares played by brass instruments, especially trumpets. The idea of using the trumpet for military communication started in the 12th century and continued until modern communication methods replaced it. Whole strings of troops maneuvers could be communicated through different trumpet calls, making it the primary form of long-distance communication on the battlefield. Brass fanfare snuck into other corners of the lives of military personnel. Two such aspects of it are still used today. Fanfares like taps are played at military funerals, and the revelry is used to rouse soldiers at dawn. The trumpet call, or more broadly, any brass call, is a signifier for the associations of the military, but also have other associations such as valor, the introduction of royalty through the militarization of the royal house, and a call to arms. It has been used in music since the Baroque period to signify a connection to the military. As time progressed, the signified meaning became to be more complex and started to be associated with the feelings and motivations like valor. Raymond Monell, in his book The Musical Topic, details how the brass call, along with the associated military march, comprised the military topic and signified manliness, euphoria, heroism, adventurousness, and was evocative of noble deeds and reckless courage. One of the most evocative modern works to use the signifier is Aaron Copland's Fanfare for a Common Man. It was written at the behest of Eugene Goossens, conductor of the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, to fill out a series of fanfares that began all the concerts during World War II. It was inspired in part by a famous 1942 speech where the Vice President Henry A. Wallace proclaimed the dawning of the century of the common man. It is scored for 4 horns, 3 trumpets, 3 trombones, tuba, timpani, tam-tam, which is a large gong, and bass drum. You can hear Copeland leaning into the emotional associations of the trumpet call in the work. He writes a very open call for the brass, conjuring a sense of gigantic scale. First with the trumpets alone, then cascading into the other sections of brass, he works the theme through the timbres that he has present in the work. By titling it A Fanfare for a Common Man, he turns the military associations of the trumpet call on its head, instead placing the valor, heroism, and courage at the feet of a normal person. This illustrates Copeland's complex and deep knowledge of the signified meaning behind the fanfare, as he is able to reroute it into meaning something else. Musical semiotics is the study of how music contains meaning. Through the dance between the signifier and the signified, we are able to trace how music, with no concrete reference to anything, can give us information. We are able to understand the information that music gives us because we have been trained to understand the signification of the symbols through our Western cultural heritage. We are trained from a young age through cartoons and other media to associate certain sounds with certain ideas. Movie music is another facet of this training, as it relies heavily on the Western language of music to create mood and emotional reaction during movies. Movie music, and more broadly, symphonic music, can do a number of things to its audience. In his essay, What's the Function of Film Music?, composer Robin Hoffman enumerates the things that movie music can do in a film. Some of them are illustrating movement, portraying emotions, creating atmosphere, and illustrating time and period references. I argue that the ability for film music to do all of these things is intrinsic in the genre of symphonic music and stems from the cultural language of classical music that we have been seeped in since the Baroque. Let's look at how some of these work. Illustrating movement in a soundtrack is called Mickey Mousing, from the technique used in cartoons that accented every movement with a sound effect or swell of music. In the classical world, it can be seen as an act of tone painting, or literally composing music that goes with the lyrics or action on stage, such as using the ascending scale when talking about going up. A very obvious example of this is from Warner Brothers' Silly Symphonies' The Skeleton Dance. In this clip, the skeleton is sneaking around and the orchestra is playing at every step he takes. This is tone painting or Mickey Mousing, illustrating movement in music. Another thing that music can do is portray emotion. One of the best examples of this is the love theme from Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet fantasy overture. Let's listen to it now. 1948 version of The Three Musketeers, the love theme is used every time D'Artagnan and Constance, the two main love interests, are in a romantic scene together. The filmmakers don't just use the love theme, but the material around it as well. Let's take a look at that clip now.
Spies, they're everywhere. Can you go to England?
To England?
Nobody knows I've come to you, only the Queen. Oh, the poor Queen.
Oh, Constance.
Richelieu's arranged a banquet for the first of the month for the express purpose of displaying the Queen's new jewels. It's a set of 12 diamond studs, and he gave them to her for her birthday, and she has to wear them.
But I...
Well, they're in England. She gave them to Buckingham. Richelieu's found out, now he wants the King to find out. And she just has to wear them at the banquet, or... Well, it's only 9 days, and I don't...
I love you.
Oh, you'll need this letter.
You tell the Queen I'll be back with the jewels in 9 days' time.
What would I do without you?
When I come back.
When you come back.
By being a leitmotif or a recurring musical theme, the association of love is made strongly throughout the movie. It is used every instance of betrayal of love between D'Artagnan and Constance and can be considered a signifier of their love itself. The theme can be seen as portraying their love musically. Music can also create an atmosphere. The music will give you information about how you're supposed to feel about a scene in the movie or in an opera as a way to set up the next action. This can be seen in the clip from Jurassic Park in the Journey to the Island scene. John Williams uses the trumpet theme to introduce you to the island before you even see it on screen. As we spoke about previously, the trumpet signifies adventure and descent into the unknown, but with a dash of reckless adventure thrown in for good measure. The orchestra supports the trumpet tune with chords in a march-like rhythm, adding to the association of the military topic. John Williams uses all of these associations to create the atmosphere of the scene, even though the shot is just of a helicopter flying over the ocean. Music can also be used to locate you in a time period or place. When you use music that has a deep association with a specific time period, the use of that music can narratively anchor you in that period. One great example is the music from the musical Cabaret by John Kander and Fred Ebb. Kander and Ebb evoke the decadence of the Weimar Republic by creating a pastiche of old cabaret songs from the 20s and the 30s. As detailed in a previous video, pastiche is using a style to be able to contextualize your work into the same period as the style you are pastiching. If you would like more detail, I suggest watching the video, which I'll link in the eye in the description box below. Let's take a look at a cabaret number from this period in between the two world wars, Raus Mit Den Männern, or Chuck Out the Men. It was written by Friedrich Hollaender in 1926 and is about getting rid of all the men so that the women can run the world. Let's hear Raus Mit Den Männern.
Es weht durch die ganze Historie ein Ruf nach Emanzipation. Vom Menschen bis zur Infusorie, überall will das Weib auf den Thron. Vom Hawaii-Neger bis zu Berliner Rang, braust ein Ruf wie Donner all daher. Was die Männer können, können wir schon lange und vielleicht eine ganze Ecke mehr. Raus mit den Männern aus dem Reichstag und raus mit den Männern aus dem Landtag und raus mit den Männern aus dem Herrenhaus. Wir machen draus ein Frauenhaus. Raus mit den Männern aus dem Dasein und raus mit den Männern aus dem Hiersein und raus mit den Männern aus dem Dortsein. Sie müssten schon längst fort sein. Ja, raus mit den Männern aus dem Bau und rein in die Dinger mit der Frau.
The song is accompanied by a theater orchestra. Theater orchestras were ensembles that could morph from night to night, depending on who was there to play. A traditional theater orchestra is comprised of piano, a drum set, violin, and a smattering of brass instruments, usually a trumpet, trombone, and tuba, along with some saxophones. Other instruments that were popular in theater bands include the clarinet and the accordion. The orchestra supports the voice, with the tuba and the piano playing an oompa rhythm, and the violin doubling the voice from time to time. The lyrics are most important part of the song, and the orchestra makes sure that you can hear them by not covering the singer. Let's hear Cantor in Ebb's Willkommen, which is the opening number of the musical and sets the tone for what follows it. Here's Willkommen.
Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome. Fremder, étranger, stranger. Glücklich zu sehen, je suis enchanté. Happy to see you, bleibe, rest, stay. Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome. Im Cabaret, au Cabaret, du Cabaret.
You can tell that Cantor uses a similar theater orchestra to the Raus Mit Den Männern, with a few exchanges. It has a piano, drum set, and saxophones. It also uses an accordion and a banjo for color. The orchestra supports the voice with a gentle rhythm in the woodwinds, piano, and drums. The lyrics are put center stage for maximum impact, just like Raus Mit Den Männern. While not a direct copy, Cantor uses the style of the 20s and the 30s cabaret to inform almost every musical decision in the work. It decisively puts you in the Weimar Republic, giving you ample information on the time period, only just through his artistic choices. Music is a language containing cultural and emotional information that we are all trained to understand. Through the use of the tools of semiotics, we can decode and understand the mechanisms behind how and why that information is broadcast to us as listeners, and grasp a deeper understanding of the processes themselves. In this video, we looked at how the music can illustrate movement, portray emotions, create atmosphere, and illustrate time and period references, but music can do so much more. I hope to bring you more videos that continue to detail how the magic of music can move us. Thank you for joining me today in the second video of the Introduction to Musical Semiotics. This is an ongoing series, so there'll be more videos like this one in the future. You can find the bibliography with all my sources on my website, dominiqueroyam.com. A link is in the description box below. Let me know what you want to learn about next. Comment down below with any of your ideas and I'll make them into videos. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of the videos I put out. You can also support the making of these videos on Patreon. There's a link also in the description box below. Follow me on social media. My handle everywhere is Dominique Royam. Thanks again, and see you in my next video.